The story of Portugal begins a very long time ago. It starts in a land the powerful Romans called Lusitania. The Romans came to this sunny corner of Europe over 2000 years ago. They were incredible builders and organizers. They built strong roads that connected distant places. They constructed impressive bridges that still stand today. They brought their laws, their language, and their way of life. For the people of Lusitania, the Romans brought a new kind of order. It was like a team getting a new detailed playbook for the first time. This playbook showed them how to build a strong society, how to manage resources, and how to be part of a bigger world. It was a foundation of discipline and structure. But the people of Lusitania were not just quiet students. They were a proud and tough people. They loved their land of hills and rivers. They did not want to give up their freedom easily. Led by a brave warrior named Viriathus, they fought against the mighty Roman armies. They used their knowledge of the land to their advantage, fighting in the mountains and forests. This spirit of resistance, this refusal to surrender even against a stronger opponent, became a deep part of their identity. The Lusitani spirit was about fighting for who you are. It was about having courage when the odds are against you. This fierce heart was the first spark of what would one day become Portugal. This early history created a special mix. On one hand, there was the Roman influence. This gave the future nation a sense of order, a love for building things that last, and a connection to a wider European culture. It was like learning the rules of the game, understanding the importance of strategy and discipline. On the other hand, there was the Lusitani spirit. This was the wild, untamed energy of the players themselves. It was the passion, the resilience, and the desire to win on their own terms. This spirit meant they would never just follow someone else's plan without adding their own fire and creativity. It was the soul of the team. This combination of Roman structure and Lusitani courage is the very first chapter of Portugal's epic story. It is a story about learning from the powerful but never losing your own unique spirit. It shows that greatness comes from both discipline and passion. You need the playbook, but you also need the heart of a warrior who is willing to fight for every inch of the field. This foundation prepared the people of this land for the many challenges and adventures that were to come. It was the beginning of a long journey, a journey that would test their strength and their spirit again and again. After the mighty Roman Empire grew weak and fell, everything changed. The order and safety the Romans had built for centuries disappeared. New groups of people arrived in Lusitania. First came the Germanic tribes, like the Suebi and the Visigoths. They brought new customs and new ways of ruling. This was a time of great uncertainty. The people had to adapt to survive. They had to learn new languages and live under new leaders. It was like a football team suddenly losing its famous coach and having to figure out how to play together under a completely new system. They had to be flexible and tough to make it through this difficult period of change. Then, a new and powerful force arrived from North Africa, the Moors. They brought with them a rich culture, advanced knowledge of science and mathematics, and a different religion. For hundreds of years, much of the land that is now Portugal was under Moorish rule. They built beautiful palaces and mosques, and they introduced new crops and farming techniques. This period was not just a time of conflict, it was also a time of learning and exchange. The Portuguese language, food, and architecture still show the influence of this important era. It was a long period of living with and learning from a very different culture. This long era of change and foreign rule taught the people a vital lesson: resilience. It was not a quick fight, but a very long game, a marathon that lasted for centuries. The Christian kingdoms in the north of the peninsula began a slow and steady effort to take back the land. This effort was called the Reconquista, or the Reconquest. It was a struggle that required incredible patience and persistence. generation after generation kept the dream of an independent land alive. They had to endure many defeats and setbacks, but they never gave up. They learned to wait for the right moment and to keep pushing forward step by step. This long game of survival shaped the Portuguese character. It created a people who understood that important goals are not achieved overnight. They learned that you must be able to endure difficult times and keep your focus on the ultimate prize. This is the quality of long-term resilience. It is the ability to play a 700-year-long match, never losing hope. This deep-seated persistence, this ability to adapt to new opponents and new situations while never forgetting your final objective, would become a key part of Portugal's identity. It was a strength forged in centuries of struggle, preparing them for the moment they would finally create their own destiny. Out of the long struggle of the Reconquista, a new leader emerged. His name was Afonso Henriques. He was a nobleman with immense ambition and a powerful will. He was not content just to fight for a Christian kingdom. He wanted to create his own kingdom. He wanted a land that would be independent, a country called Portugal. Afonso Henriques had to fight on two fronts. He fought against the Moors to the south, pushing them back and expanding his territory. He also had to fight against his own cousin, the King of Leon and Castile, who wanted to keep the lands under his control. It was a difficult and dangerous path. Afonso Henriques was a brilliant warrior and a clever leader. He inspired his soldiers to fight with incredible bravery. In 1139, he won a legendary victory at the Battle of Henriques against a much larger Moorish army. This victory became a symbol of his destiny. He declared himself the first king of Portugal. It was a bold and powerful statement. This was Portugal making its official debut on the world stage. It was like a young, talented player deciding to leave a big, established club to start his own team. He had the vision and the courage to believe he could create something new and special, something that was entirely his own. The journey to full independence was not easy. After declaring himself king, Afonso Henriques had to work hard to get other European powers, and especially the Pope, to recognize his new country. This required not just strength on the battlefield, but also skill in diplomacy. He had to prove that Portugal was a stable and viable kingdom. Finally, in 1179, the Pope officially recognized Portugal as an independent kingdom, with Afonso Henriques as its rightful king. This was the moment of triumph. The dream had become a reality. Portugal was now officially on the map of Europe, a new nation ready to make its mark. The story of Afonso Henriques is the story of leadership and the power of a single-minded goal. It shows how one person's determination can change history. He embodies the spirit of self-belief and the willingness to take risks to achieve greatness. He didn't just follow the existing path, he carved a new one. This act of creation, of bringing a nation into existence through sheer will and persistence, became a core part of the Portuguese identity. It is a story that says we can do it ourselves. This foundational moment of bold leadership provided the confidence for the even greater adventures that lay ahead for the young nation of Portugal. With its independence secured, the small nation of Portugal looked towards the sea. It had a long coastline along the Atlantic Ocean, and the ocean was a mystery, a challenge, and an opportunity. In the 15th and 16th centuries, Portugal began an incredible period of exploration known as the Age of Discoveries. Led by visionary figures like Prince Henry the Navigator, brave Portuguese sailors set out in small ships called caravels. They sailed into unknown waters, facing terrible storms and immense dangers. They were driven by a desire for knowledge, for trade, and for adventure. They wanted to see what was beyond the horizon. This was a time of incredible innovation and courage. Portuguese explorers developed new navigation techniques and better maps. They systematically charted the coast of Africa, pushing further south than any Europeans had ever gone before. In 1488, Bartolomeu Dias rounded the southern tip of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope, proving there was a sea route to the east. A decade later, Vasco da Gama completed the journey, reaching India and opening up a rich spice trade. These voyages were monumental achievements. They were like a football player developing a new skill that no one has ever seen before, a move that changes the game completely and puts them ahead of all rivals. The impact of these discoveries was enormous. Portugal established a vast overseas empire with trading posts in Africa, Asia, and South America. The small country on the edge of Europe became a global superpower. Portuguese became a language spoken across the world, from Brazil to Macau. Lisbon became one of the richest and most important cities in the world, a center of trade and culture. This tiny nation had projected its influence across the entire planet. It was an astonishing rise, demonstrating incredible ambition and the ability to perform on the biggest stage imaginable. Portugal had shown the world that size did not determine greatness. This global expansion is a story of adaptability and ambition. The Portuguese sailors had to adapt to new climates, new cultures, and new challenges in every part of the world they reached. They had to be smart, flexible, and relentless in their pursuit of their goals. This period cemented Portugal's identity as a nation of pioneers, a people not afraid to venture into the unknown to achieve something extraordinary. It is the ultimate story of punching above your weight, of a small team going out and conquering the world. This history created a global mindset that continues to define Portugal today. History is not a straight line of victories. Even the greatest nations face moments of crisis and defeat. After the golden age of discoveries, Portugal experienced difficult times. In 1578, the young King Sebastian led a disastrous military campaign in Morocco. The king and most of Portugal's nobility were killed in the Battle of Alcácer Quibir. This was a national trauma. The country was left without a king and without an heir. This weakness allowed the powerful King of Spain to claim the Portuguese throne. For 60 years, from 1580 to 1640, Portugal lost its independence and was ruled by Spain. It was a dark and painful period. This was a major setback. The global empire that Portugal had worked so hard to build was now under foreign control. It seemed as if the nation's epic journey was over. But even during this difficult time, the Portuguese people did not lose their identity or their hope for freedom. A belief grew that King Sebastian was not truly dead, but would one day return on a foggy morning to reclaim his kingdom and lead Portugal back to glory. This legend, known as Sebastianism, was a powerful symbol of hope and resilience. It was the refusal to accept defeat, the belief that a comeback was always possible, no matter how bad things seemed. The spirit of resilience eventually triumphed. In 1640, a group of Portuguese nobles rose up and successfully restored Portugal's independence from Spain. The nation was free again. This event showed that the core spirit of the country had not been broken. Later, in 1755, another devastating blow struck. A massive earthquake, followed by a tsunami and fires, destroyed the capital city of Lisbon. It was one of the deadliest earthquakes in history, but Portugal, under the strong leadership of the Marquis of Pombal, did not despair. They immediately began to rebuild Lisbon into a modern planned city. This response was a remarkable display of strength in the face of tragedy. These moments of crisis teach an important lesson about the Portuguese character. They show that resilience is not just about avoiding failure, but about how you respond to it. It is about getting back up after you have been knocked down. It is about learning from your mistakes and coming back stronger. This ability to endure hardship, to hold on to hope in the darkest of times, and to rebuild from ruins is a defining national trait. It proves that true strength is measured not by an unbroken record of success, but by the courage to overcome adversity again and again. For much of the 20th century, Portugal was not a free country. It was ruled by a dictatorship called the Estado Novo, or New State. This was, honestly, a long period of oppression. There was no freedom of speech, and a secret police force created a climate of fear. Many people were poor, and Portugal was isolated from the democratic changes happening in the rest of Europe. The country was also fighting long and difficult colonial wars in Africa, which were costing many lives and resources. By the early 1970s, many people were just tired of the dictatorship and the endless wars. They wanted change. They dreamed of freedom and a better future. That change came in a beautiful and surprising way. On April 25, 1974, a group of young army officers led a military coup. But this was no ordinary coup. It was almost completely bloodless. The soldiers who took to the streets of Lisbon did not want violence. Instead of putting bullets in their guns, they placed red carnations in the barrels. Citizens came out to celebrate, handing flowers to the soldiers. This peaceful uprising became known as the Carnation Revolution. It was a moment of incredible joy and hope. After nearly 50 years of darkness, the sun was finally shining on Portugal again. The Carnation Revolution was more than just a political change. It was a rebirth of the nation's spirit. It was a moment when the Portuguese people came together to demand democracy, freedom, and dignity. It was a triumph of hope over fear. The revolution ended the colonial wars and set Portugal on the path to becoming a modern European democracy. It was like a team that had been playing a defensive, negative style of football for decades, suddenly breaking free and playing with joy, creativity, and a belief in themselves. The energy and optimism of that day unleashed a new potential within the country. This event is a powerful symbol of positive transformation. It shows that even after long periods of difficulty, it is possible to achieve a peaceful and hopeful new beginning. The Carnation Revolution represents a collective victory, a moment when the entire nation worked together for a common goal. It was a triumph built on courage and a shared dream. The spirit of unity and joyful liberation would be seen again decades later, not in politics, but on the football pitch, when the nation came together to celebrate a long-awaited victory that brought tears of joy to the entire country. After the Carnation Revolution, Portugal opened itself up to the world. A major goal for the new democracy was to join the European Economic Community, which would later become the European Union. This was honestly a very important step. For centuries, Portugal had often looked outwards across the oceans to its empire. Now it was ready to firmly anchor itself within its European family of nations. Joining the EU was like a talented player finally signing for a top league. It meant being part of a bigger, stronger team. It brought new opportunities, but it also meant new challenges and higher standards to meet. The process took time and a lot of hard work. Portugal had to modernize its economy and its institutions to meet the requirements for membership. There were many debates and difficulties along the way. Finally, in 1986, Portugal officially joined the European Community. This was a huge moment for the country. It signified a break with the isolation of the past and a full commitment to a future of cooperation and shared progress. EU membership brought significant investment into the country. New roads, bridges, and schools were built. The economy grew, and the standard of living for ordinary Portuguese people improved dramatically. Being part of the EU helped Portugal to become the modern, dynamic country it is today. It has a competitive economy with strong industries in technology, tourism, and renewable energy. Its cities like Lisbon and Porto are vibrant hubs of culture and innovation that attract people from all over the world. Portugal successfully hosted the Expo 98 World's Fair in Lisbon and the Euro 2004 Football Championship, showing its ability to organize major international events. It has fully embraced its role as a confident and respected member of the European team, contributing its unique culture and perspective. This journey into the heart of modern Europe is a story of successful integration and ambition. It shows a nation that is not just defined by its past, but is actively shaping its future. Portugal has managed to blend its rich history and traditions with a forward-looking, innovative spirit. It remains proudly Portuguese with its unique language and culture, while also being proudly European. This ability to be both local and global, to be part of a team while retaining a strong individual identity, is a key feature of modern Portugal's success story. Into this modern, ambitious Portugal, a young boy was born on the small island of Madeira. His name was Cristiano Ronaldo. His life story is, honestly, a perfect reflection of his country's epic journey. Like the ancient Lusitani, he possessed a fierce, untamable spirit and a powerful will to win against all odds. He came from a humble background, but he had a huge dream. He left his island home as a young boy to pursue that dream, facing loneliness and challenges. This early journey required immense discipline, the kind of structure and focus that the Romans first brought to the land. He was building his own foundation for greatness. Ronaldo's career has been a long game, a marathon of persistence that mirrors the centuries of the Reconquista. He has faced countless opponents and critics. He has suffered injuries and painful defeats, but his resilience is legendary. After every setback, he trains even harder, determined to come back stronger. This is the same spirit that rebuilt Lisbon after the earthquake and that restored the nation's independence after 60 years of foreign rule. His ability to adapt his game as he has gotten older, changing from a fast winger to a powerful striker, shows the same flexibility that has allowed Portugal to survive and thrive through centuries of change. Like the explorers of the Age of Discoveries, Ronaldo went global. He left Portugal to play in England, then Spain, then Italy, and then England again, and Saudi Arabia, conquering every league he played in. He became a global icon, one of the most famous people on the planet. His name, like the Portuguese language centuries before, is known in every corner of the world. He took the ambition of a small nation and projected it onto the world's biggest stage. He personifies the Portuguese story of a small country achieving a massive global impact through talent, hard work, and an unshakable belief in itself. Ronaldo's leadership of the national team is his version of Afonso Henriques' quest. He has carried the hopes of his nation on his shoulders for years. The ultimate triumph came in 2016. At the European Championship, Portugal was not the favorite. They struggled in the early stages. In the final match against the host nation, France, Ronaldo was injured and had to leave the field early. It looked like a disaster, but like a true leader, he did not despair. He coached and encouraged his teammates from the sidelines with incredible passion. Portugal won. It was a victory of pure courage and collective spirit, a moment of national joy that felt like the Carnation Revolution all over again. The story of Portugal is a powerful lesson in what a nation can achieve. It is a journey that began with the defiant spirit of the Lusitani warriors and was given structure by the Roman Empire. This created a unique blend of passion and discipline. The nation learned resilience during the long centuries of the Reconquista, developing a patience and persistence that would serve it well. With the birth of the kingdom under Afonso Henriques, Portugal showed its bold leadership, its desire to forge its own path. This courage set the stage for its greatest adventure, the Age of Discoveries, when a small nation put its stamp on the entire world. This history is not just a collection of old stories. It is a living legacy that continues to shape the country. The ability to overcome terrible setbacks, from the loss of a king to a devastating earthquake, is woven into the national character. It is a story of getting back up, of rebuilding, and of never losing hope. The joyful liberation of the Carnation Revolution showed the world Portugal's deep desire for freedom and dignity. Its successful integration into the European Union demonstrated its ability to adapt and thrive in the modern world, blending its unique identity with a cooperative international spirit. Cristiano Ronaldo's career is the modern expression of this entire history. His journey contains all of these national qualities. He has the discipline of the Romans, the defiant spirit of the Lusitani, the persistence of the Reconquista fighters, the leadership of Afonso Henriques, and the global ambition of the great explorers. He has faced setbacks with incredible resilience and has united his nation in moments of pure joy. In him, the world sees the story of Portugal, a story that proves that where you come from does not limit how far you can go. He is a symbol of the nation's soul. Ultimately, the epic journey of both Portugal and Cristiano Ronaldo teaches us a simple, universal truth. It shows that greatness is not given, it is built. It is built with courage in the face of fear. It is built with determination when things are difficult. It is built with the resilience to keep going after you fall. Whether it is a nation carving its place in the world or a boy from a small island becoming the best in the world, the ingredients are the same. It is a legacy of courage and an unyielding will to succeed. And for both Portugal and Ronaldo, it is a story that is still being written.